coming up is our first taster of Lionel Messi, Argentina against Saudi Arabia, and Denmark against Tunisia. Quick point on Messi, Nick. I mean, he's been talking ahead of this game about, this is probably going to be my last World Cup. Hasn't said it definitively, but he is edging towards that now. And this is going to be the start, right, of a big, big push from the whole Argentine team, obviously to win it, but for him in particular, how much they want to give him that trophy that his legacy deserves. So it'd be fun to see him going out with Argentina against Saudi Arabia and kicking off his World Cup campaign, right? I know you're a big Messi fan.
Yeah, they've played a lot. Argentina, well, also he's played a lot because Barcelona and PSG played a lot in the Middle East. So he'll be very comfortable with that area. I think he's going to have a tournament to remember. This is the most loaded his team has been. They're going to make him kind of the focal point because it's him and this is the tournament, but he doesn't have to be. And honestly, which is crazy to say for, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time. He's an ancillary piece for this team, which is absolutely wild. And there's nothing more dangerous than that. I think Saudi Arabia is a good place for them to start as well. And they'll give them a taste of what they're going to expect moving forward. I am personally, I think I've told you guys this before, he's maybe my favorite athlete of all time because it's the combination of confidence and humility, and also that sort of unicorn ability to do whatever he wants when he wants to. I will be rooting very, very, very hard for him, and I'll be excited to watch this game.
I'm sure most neutrals will be as well with you, Nick. He's the artist, right? It's just the genius of him. You'd love to see him cap off. If your team can't win it at this tournament, you'd love to see Lionel Messi win the World Cup and just cement his place among the pantheon of soccer gods out there. Andy, let's focus on a big game, Mexico against Poland. This is huge for these two teams in that group, considering obviously they have Argentina to come. And this for me really is about a sort of a very evenly matched teams, right? When you think about Poland and Mexico, defensively solid, keep the ball, hard to play against. And then you look up top and it's really the tale of two centre forwards as well. And it's Lewandowski for Poland, obviously fit, firing, doing well at Barcelona. But then Raul Jimenez has been missing for Mexico and for Wolves all season long so far. And that they've really missed him, haven't they, up top our tree. So what are you looking forward to in this game? And I guess what you're looking for from these two teams in the tournament?
I have no clue on the last part because I think these are two of the most unpredictable teams in this tournament, right? Mexico throughout qualifying, I mean, it looked at like it multiple times. Tata was going to be fired, and he just survived, and he just stayed in the job. And by the end of qualifying, they looked pretty good. And then they got to the final games leading up to the World Cup, and they looked really, really bad. There was some interesting squad selection issues at that time. Raul Jimenez, as you say, Joe, was not available at that. So there's a lot of moving parts going on with Mexico, as there ever is at major tournaments. I tend to think that of the four CONCACAF teams, I think Mexico still, and maybe you guys, I'd love to hear your take on this, but I still think they are the likeliest of the four to, one, get out of the group stage, and two, maybe to win a game in the knockout rounds. And I know there's 7 straight tournaments out in the round of 16, but it still feels like with the talent that they've got at the very top of this squad, they just need a couple of games for it to come together. And I think Poland is actually a pretty good first matchup for them to get a good litmus test to see where they're at and get one of the kind of the medium difficulty game out of the way early on and set themselves up going forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the fact that obviously they have Saudi Arabia in their final Group C game and Argentina in the middle, the schedule's worked out pretty well for them. I mean, Nick, when we look at their team, I mean, loaded with experience from Guardado and obviously Memo Ochoa in goal, just keep on going and going, don't they? And Herrera in midfield. And then Irving Lozano, Chucky up top. I mean, he can scare the life out of any defense the way he's been playing and chipping in for Napoli this season as well with his pace. So, yeah, this is it, right? This game against Poland, I think for both of these teams, kind of like the US against Wales, this is the game they'll both be earmarking is we got to win this one. And then hopefully we can beat Saudi Arabia and then it maybe goes down to goal difference or whatever. So this is a massive, massive game for Mexico to kick off in the World Cup and for Poland too.
It is, and we know Mexico is going to look good as well. They've done a heck of a job there. I read your uniform rankings or jersey rankings for the World Cup, and I every time I look at it, I'm reminded. I will say this. I thought, not to bring everything back to the U.S., but I thought the U.S. was the most likely team to do it until today. And they whiffed on their chance. Will Mexico whiff on theirs? And what's the difference is exactly what you said. There is a lot of experience there. And I think ultimately Lewandowski will prove too much for Mexico, but I think they have a strong chance to do it just based on the sort of, for lack of a better term, hard men and hatchet men they have there. They're going to do anything to get by. They're physical, they're athletic. Guys like, whether they play or not, the experience that when you look back and you have Memo Ochoa around, who's I think 37 years old. You have Hector Moreno around, who's done just about everything in that program, and still a Hector Herrera, still an Andres Guardado. They will have that team ready. And with all due respect, that's not something the U.S. could mimic. It's not something they could have done. And that is the difference.
Yeah, but even, Edson Alvarez as well has been excellent at Ajax over the last few seasons, looks destined for a move to the Premier League. And yeah, they've got a couple, maybe not nowhere near as much as the US in terms of the next generation. So maybe that's the biggest concern for Mexico going forward. But as of right now, you're right, battle hardened, and you'd expect him to grind out something here against Poland. But Poland, looking down their roster, I mean, Milik, Piatek, obviously Lewandowski, Swiderski's been playing really well in MLS. And then Zielinski, obviously, has been really, really good for Napoli this season as well. So they got some real quality spread around there. So I think it's going to be a really fun game because, as you said, both of these teams are going to go at it. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Mexico and Poland kicking off their World Cup campaigns.